got the good vibrations. You got your sweet sensations. Hey guys, it's Alan, the Fireman 1028, and today we are out on the South Carolina Adventure Route, also known as the S.C.A.R. This is the segment 4 section, which is outside of the town of Sharon, or Sharon if you're local, in Hickory Grove, and we're just riding along some nice groomed dirt roads, and we've got our Kawasaki Versys X-300, and we figured we'd bring it out here and play with it a little bit, and first time really kind of taking it quote-unquote off-road. And I figured what we'd do is we'd have a conversation about it, the 5 things that I like and the 5 things I don't like about this bike. So let's throw on our gear and let's go for a ride. Alright guys, so let's get the gloves on. And we're using, if you can see it on my phone here, we're using the OwnX off-road app, which has the entire S.C.A.R route pre-programmed into it. A lot of these sections I've already done years ago on my KTM 890 Adventure, but like I said, I hadn't done them in a while. Just figured it'd be fun to see what everything looks like now. Visor down there. It's a beautiful early May. Early May is in May 2nd, 2025. It's a beautiful Friday afternoon. I snuck out a couple minutes early so I could come and film this and talk to you guys and take a look at the route over here. Now again, I know people give me a hard time. This is not really off-road, and you're right. I mean, this is a fairly well-groomed dirt road, so I don't have any pretenses that this is off-road. If we want to go off-road, I've got plenty of places to go do that. So the South Carolina Adventure Route, if you're not familiar with it, and I'll put the link to the web page if the web page is still up. If not, then their Facebook page. But the S.C.A.R, as it's commonly referred to, was created by a guy named Chris Cox. I think I got his name right. If I didn't, I'll put it right here. And it's basically it's all public roads, and it's designed to be just a scenic way to see the state. It is a venture route. So it's all inside the state of South Carolina. Last I saw was over 1,000 miles. So it's it's quite a few miles. And there are some sections like I know down outside of Great Falls there's a section where people get stuck all the time, and it's all public roads. So it's not you're not trespassing going on any of these roads. And it's just absolutely beautiful. Today, like I said, we're right outside of the town of Hickory Grove, Bullets Creek, and we're going to try to make it up to Kings Mountain. There's some beautiful back roads in Kings Mountain that we're going to try to make it over to. And like I said, I figured while we're here, we'd talk about the Kawasaki Versys X-300. We did a we did a good video this week, and actually had pretty good response on it, or this past week, of why I feel that the Versys is the best beginner bike on the market. And I laid out all my reasons there, and honestly, I stick with that 100%. To recap that, from everything from the weight to how the power delivery is to the just the amount of horsepower, where the horsepower's at, the cost of the bike, all these things just kind of led me to not only the fact that I own the bike, which kind of helps in my decision making, but the fact that it just out of everything on the market, I think this is the best beginner bike out there. Now, as you can see, this gravel road, it starts to get a little hairy over here on this section. Not nearly as groomed over here, so it's real loose gravel. So it's now these tires are, they're 80/20 tires. They're TKC 80s, so they're kind of an 80/20 tire. Speed limit is 25, so we're doing the speed limit on the road. could go bombing down it if I wanted to, but that's not the purpose of the S.C.A.R route. It's more to just sit back and relax and, you know, see the state that you live in, and that's what we're going to do. And like I said, the route takes you all around the entire state, all the way from you know, the Low Country down in the Francis Marion State Park, all the way through you know, the Great Falls area, up through, you know, back over to Kings Mountain, all through the upstate. There's some beautiful riding over there that we haven't really even got to yet, that we do plan on getting and documenting. All right, guys, so let's talk about the 5 things that I like about the Kawasaki Versys X-300. Number 1, the bike is lightweight. Not lightweight as in, you know, 220 pounds of a motocross bike, but lightweight for a street bike. This bike weighs in at about 387 pounds, full of fuel, ready to ride. And, you know, is it the lightest bike out there on the road? No. But is it a good balance where it's not too heavy? You know, as actually, I put that as my number 1 reason. And I was moving my Honda Transalp around, and I was rolling it around the yard and the driveway, and then I rolled this thing around, and just the difference. And the bikes are pretty close to the same size as far as length and seat height and everything else. But rolling this one around versus that Transalp, and the Transalp's not a heavy bike by any means, but it was just the difference in rolling the 2 bikes around was pretty substantial. So lightweight. I'm gonna put lightweight as the number 1 thing that I like about the Versys X-300. Number 2, we're gonna put nimbleness. And I'm not saying this thing is a corner carver, but the bike is very nimble on its feet. You know, it has a combination of, you know, things to do with the, you know, again, being lightweight, you know, kind of small tires, you know, thin tires, skinny tires, and just how the bike is set up in the frame and the lineage of the Ninja 300. The gentleman that we bought the bike from literally lives on the tail of the Dragon, and he's got all kinds of bikes and has access to all kinds of bikes. And he said this bike here was his absolute most fun bike on the tail of the Dragon. You could scream it to 12,000 RPM and just rail it around corners, and it was so eager to take those corners and to transition from side to side. So nimbleness, and it even goes for off-road too. It's very nimble off-road, and, you know, I can move the bike around, and, you know, if I drop the bike, go back to weight. If I drop the bike, I can pick it up by myself. If you've got a 600-700 pound R1200 GS loaded with all kinds of stuff, and you drop that thing, guess what? You're not picking that thing up by yourself. So lightweight, and it's nimble. Number 3, our number 3 thing of the 5 things that I like about the Versys X-300 is the horsepower. Now, 40 horsepower is not really a lot of horsepower, but when you look at the class of bikes, you know, your Honda CRF 300L Rally, your Kawasaki KLX 300, bikes like that. I mean, you're in the 20s as far as your horsepower. Now, the KTM 390 Adventure, which a bike I also own, is actually pushing 41 horsepower. But 38 horsepower in this class is something. It's not, you know, it's not class leading, but it's not, you know, on the bottom of the class either. So I think 38 horsepower in this class is pretty respectable. All right, so the number 4 thing that we like about the Kawasaki Versys X-300 is the value. These bikes are an incredible value. You know, you can pick them up for $4,000, you know, $3,500 to $4,000 all day long. And while you may find one with some miles on it, you know, I wouldn't be afraid to buy one of these bikes that had 15,000 miles on it. I really wouldn't. They're so well built. And, you know, mileage is really not that big of a concern. And then they also hold their value incredibly well. Look at that view right there. Look at that view. They hold their value incredibly well. So it's one of those where if you buy, and I brought this up in the beginner video, if you buy this as a beginner bike and you ride it for 6 months and you learn how to ride, you can turn around and sell it for basically the exact same thing you paid for it. So I consider that an incredible value. So that's why I list value as the number 4 thing we love about the Kawasaki Versys X-300. Beautiful lake right there. And see, this right here, this is what you get with the S.C.A.R route. You get these little back roads like this, that something you probably never would have found just driving down the road, and this is the majority. There are some sections where you're having to take a highway to slab it to another section, but for the most part, this is what you get right here on the S.C.A.R route. It is so well designed. There's updates all the time for road closures and things like that. This is the vast majority of what you get. Cool dirt roads and, you know, little small 2-lane back roads. All right, so let's talk about the fifth and final thing that I like about the Versys X-300. And I'll tell you that the list of 5 things that I like, I came up with those pretty easily. That was a pretty easy list to come up with. The 5 things on the list I do not like, I had to do some thinking on that one, because like I said, it's not a perfect bike, but it's just a damn good, competent little bike. And it doesn't do anything perfect, but it does everything very well. So the final thing that I like about the number 5, the final thing that I like about the Versys X-300 is the revs. Rev it, baby. Rev it, baby. Come on, whoa. How many bikes can you just scream at 12,000 RPMs and not break the law? Well, I just did. 3 different gears, 12,000 RPM. It still didn't break the law. So I love how the bike revs. It's so rev happy, and it's just eager, and you give it some, and it's like, hey, come on, baby, I got a little bit more, come on. Give me a little bit more, come on, give me some more. So the revs, I love how this bike revs. That's a cute house. All right, so there's our 5 things that we like about the Versys X-300. Now let's talk about the 5 things that we don't like. Number 1, it revs. But Alan, wasn't that your final thing that your number 5 thing that you liked about the bike? Yes, it is. And it's also my number 1 thing I don't like about the bike. This thing revs to the damn moon. Just riding on the interstate, going 70 miles an hour, you're turning 8,000 to 9,000 RPM. This booger screams on the interstate. This is a great back roads. This right here, we're in 6th gear. We're doing 45 miles an hour, and we're turning 5,200 RPMs. This is what this bike likes, not 80 miles an hour on the interstate. So our number 1 thing that we don't like about the bike is how hard it revs, which is, again, the number 5 thing that we liked about the bike. Number 2 thing, and actually I went back and I changed this from my original, and actually riding off-road, I changed this based off of just riding today, is the heat management. This bike does not like off-road riding. It really does not handle the heat very well. I was just in that first section that we rode. It's beautiful. Just in that first section that we rode off on the gravel roads going low speed. We were already there's a turn. We were already up to 4 or 5 bars on the temperature gauge, and we only had 1 bar left. So I can see, and I've heard it from other people too, that this thing gets hot, and it doesn't have the fan capacity or the radiator capacity to keep it cool. Now, does it hurt it? I don't know. Maybe not. But it cannot keep itself cool. So that's definitely something to consider when you talk about the things that you don't like about the Versys X-300. So number 3, the number 3 thing that I don't like about the Versys X-300 is the vibrations. And again, that ties directly back to number 1, which was the revs, how hard this thing revs. Anything right now, okay, 6th gear, we're doing 48 miles an hour, we're at 5,900, 800 RPM, and my butt's just singing. This thing is just vibrating my butt, and not in a good way either. It's just vibrating. I can feel it through my hands, I can feel it through my pegs, I can feel it in the seat. This thing is buzzy. And again, maybe you like that, I don't. But it's just something you're going to have to deal with when you ride this bike. Because like I said, it makes its revs, it makes its power high in the rev range. And with high RPMs, you're going to get buzziness. So it's one of those, you just got to kind of deal with it. So there's our number 4 thing. Or is it number 3? That was number 3. Excuse me, that was number 3. The number 3 thing we don't like about the Versys X-300 is the vibrations. And it's not even like the Marky Mark good vibrations either. Got the good vibrations. You got your sweet sensations. Not even those guys. So that was number 3. The number 4 thing. I was supposed to turn there. Damn it. The number 4 thing that we don't like about the Versys X-300. Now, it is nimble. Look at that. Just no, I did not tear up somebody's yard. The number 4 thing we don't like about the Versys X-300 is the seating position. And let me explain that. The seating position is very comfortable, but you're locked into one seating position. How the seat is designed, it's got this big scoop, and you feel like you do feel like you're sitting in the bike, but you're stuck in this one position. You can't really move, and typically on longer, and the seat's hard as shit too. Excuse my language. It is a hard seat. And it's not very forgiving, and there's no place that you can move around to move the pressure points on yourself. And it also has a little bit of a slant kind of forward, which it's hard. You're stuck in one position and you're kind of slanted forward. And if I'm gonna be honest with you, it hurts my balls. Okay, it does. I said it. It hurts my balls. 97% of my audience is male, anyway, according to the analytics. So you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And if it ain't comfortable on your friends there, then it ain't gonna be comfortable at all. So I have done some looking. That there's some other seats out there, or Seat Concepts makes a. We're gonna turn down this old road right here. That's what I love about this S.C.A.R route. And I've been on these roads before, but man, it's just these cool little back roads. And I don't know if they had a rain shower here recently, or if they've watered the roads, but there's no dust on. It hadn't rained in a couple days, but there's no rust. Hey, puppy dog. There's no dust on these roads, and very well maintained. Again, these are all public roads. None of these are private roads. You're never breaking the law riding the S.C.A.R route. Just pull over here down here. We'll hop off and we'll take a look at the bike, and I'll show you exactly. Getting some shading down here. I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about on the seat. Let's get some shade right up here. Yeah, we'll go right over here, this pasture here. Yeah, there's a good spot. And again, these routes, they're all really accessible. Now, once you start getting, as soon as you start getting kind of away from your home, you got to travel a little bit to get to them, and that's that is what it is. But I've been riding with my turn signal on. All right, so let's hop off. Let's take a look at the bike. So as you can see right here, you see how you're literally, you are tucked. There's no place you can move. You got this right here. It's got a slight slant forward to it, and your testicles sit right about here, and they hurt. And you can't slide backwards. Again, Seat Concepts makes a seat, or a new foam, whatever, that it makes it a little bit better, but it's still not great. I have not rode my wife on the back of this. And that's typically one of her complaints, and I understand why they do it, is that they put that passenger perch way up high, so your passenger can kind of see over you. And that's cool and all, but, a bike with 300 cc's, are you really going to be riding a passenger on it? Let's turn our Insta360 back on. We're still learning this camera system. Oops. Still learning. It's pretty damn cool though. Let's just put it up like that. This looks just like one of the sections looks just like one of the sections headed down to Kershaw. Comes right out, right on the other side of the Carolina Motorsports Park. So again, this is what you get. Let's do that right back up. This is what you get on the S.C.A.R. You get beautiful, beautiful roads like this. So number 4, let's talk about the number 4 thing that we don't like. Or is that number 4 or is that number 5? No, we added, again, I had to modify my original list. So the number 5 thing we don't like is the ground clearance. The position of the exhaust and the position of the oil filter facilitates the fact that you need a really good, that you need a really good skid plate. And thankfully, my boys over at T-Rex Racing, who actually I just got a box of from T-Rex Racing for another bike, hooked us up on this. Look at that bird there. Hooked us up on this bike with a. Look at that! Holy moly! Sorry guys, I had to take a phone call. That was my pastor, Pastor Reed, the pastor of disaster, as I like to call him, or Pastor Homie. Good man, pastor at Sisk Memorial Baptist Church. And again, here's one of our roads on this is the S.C.A.R route. This is a public road that, as you can tell, does not get very much very much use. But this is kind of typical of what you'll find on the S.C.A.R route. I only see 2 sets of tire tracks from heck, who knows when. Where were we at on our list? A little muddy right here. Definitely a little muddy right here. This will be a fun little road after it's been raining. Or not a fun little road. One of the two. I don't know which one. And again, we got 80/20 tires on this bike, so it's not like we got TKC 80s, which I mean they're fine tires, and they'll do this all day long. They just might not be happy with it. Just get us one of these little grooves. Tractor on up. Ground clearance, that's what we're talking about. Number 4, number 5. I got 5 with a bonus. How about that? I got 5 with the bonus on the things we don't like about it. Number 5 would be ground clearance. This thing does not have very good ground clearance. Hell, I think I already started talking about it. My phone call messed me up. T-Rex Racing, like I said, they hooked us up with a very good skid plate. And it's not that the ground clearance is terrible. It's the location of the, I'm going to stand up on this. This is beating me up. It's the location of the exhaust. Is that a person? Or is that that's a pole. Okay. Damn, I thought that was a person saying they're getting shit out of me. Is the location of the exhaust and of the it gets a little hairy down here. Is the location of the exhaust as well as the oil filter. The oil filter is in a very, very precarious place, way down low. This would be a mess if it had been raining. And especially get some good thunderstorms tomorrow night. So this would be and I'm not big on tearing up roads, especially public property. So there's one section that's down outside of Great Falls. It's the I can't think of the name of it. That whole road floods out. I mean, it gets bad. And Sully and I went through there a couple years ago on the KTM 890 Adventure, and we just about got stuck with it. Going through puddles that are or water holes that are 3 foot deep and everything. So now this is a good little route right here. So this is it's still technically a gravel road, but it's a fun little road. Ground clearance is pretty low, so you got to put a really good skid plate on this thing if you're going to do even anything like this. I mean, even something like this, you could hit a rock or a stick or something and throw it up into your engine and really mess up your day. But like I said, our good friends at T-Rex Racing hooked us up with a really high quality skid plate, and I got a little installation video of that, and I really need to put it up. It's about, it was so easy I forgot to record half of it. A couple brackets, and throw the skid plate on, and it's so strong. Actually, when we changed the tires on this thing to put these TKC 80s on, I used an ATV lift and just picked it up from the skid plate with full confidence that it would be just fine. We're gonna pull over here for just a second, make a little pit stop. I'll be back, y'all. All right, guys, we are back. Had to make a little pit stop. Now, see, here's a good example. Let me stop real quick before I get too far. Look right here. See on the temperature gauge, we're 1 bar away from being all the way at the top. And we're not really revving that high either. I mean, we're turning, going 20 miles an hour. We're turning about 4,000 RPM, which might be high on some bikes, and that would be, my engine would. Oh, look at that. My engine would grenade on the excuse me. So you got a puddle like that. Some people would just eat that up. I'm not going through that crap. We're 1 bar from the top, and we're not doing anything crazy. We're just very easily riding. So again, like I said, ground clearance. This is not going to do. Look at that big old snake. Ooh, there's a pretty snake. This thing's not going to do a bunch of crazy off-road and rock crawling and climbing and everything else, and it's not designed for that. If you're doing that on this bike, you're either Chris Birch or you're damn nuts. So, ground clearance, again, it's a negative, but that's why I put it so far down the list. The last thing I would say is probably the lack of aftermarket support for this bike. There's just not a lot of stuff out there. You look at its big brother, the Versys 650, and there is just all kinds of aftermarket support. You can do all kinds of things with those bikes. So here's a good example right here. Again, this is a public road, but it's pretty gnarly looking. And we're just going to take it easy, run through here. We're not going to do anything stupid. And think about this is in York County. I mean, this, stuff like this, and it's in my backyard. People think of York County as kind of not necessarily metropolitan, but not the sticks like where my folks in Alabama are from. But just cool little roads like this right in our backyard. Don't have to leave the county. It's pretty cool. But anyway, the lack of aftermarket support. The Versys 650, there's tons of seat options and windshields and exhaust and this and that. The Versys 300 is a lot lower volume seller, so you don't get near the options on that, and so you just don't have the aftermarket support. And for somebody who's a Farkle whore, for lack of a better term, that sucks. I like buying new parts. I like trying new things out. Watch out! I like trying new things out, and you just don't have that option here. Go to look at seats, and there's one option. I only found one option. There might be other ones out there, and if there are, please let me know in the comments here. But that's it. There's not many options as far as aftermarket for windshields and pegs and all that jazz. So that's technically our 6th thing that we don't like about the bike. But as you can tell, the positives far outweigh the negatives. And this is a really fun bike. And for what we're doing right here, now we're up on a paved road here, so we'll definitely get the temperatures down a little bit on this paved section. Get some air movement across the radiator, and maybe it needs a bigger fan. Maybe that's all it needs is just a bigger fan, and it would cool it a lot better. But there we go, guys. There are the 5 things I like, and 5 things plus 1 that I don't like about the Kawasaki Versys X-300. So, and I should have said it at the beginning of the video, but again, if you see anything that you like, give me a thumbs up. Throw a comment on there. If you think I'm spot on, or you think I'm full of absolute crap, let me know. Throw a comment up there, and if you like what we're doing with the Versys and with the Transalp and the KTM and the T-Dubs and then the other bike we haven't even done snot with yet, let me know, and you know, subscribe to the channel. For me, when I see subscriber counts go up, that's like affirmation, saying, okay, hey man, you're doing something right. People are liking what you're doing, and it's affirmation. I'm not doing it for the money. Eventually, do I want to get monetized? Sure. Is that why I'm doing it? No. I'm doing it because it's fun, and I enjoy making these, and thinking, you know, waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning thinking, oh, here's a good idea for another video. Let's do this versus this, and you know, I just am really enjoying doing that part of it, the challenge of making, you know, subpar content. So if you like it, you know, subscribe to the channel. That, like I said, for me, that's like the ultimate compliment right there. So thank you guys. Thank you guys for checking it out. It doesn't want to shift down either. There we go. Ah, there's number 7. So thank you guys. God bless. Roll Tide, and remember, tomorrow needs you. Get it back. Come on.